take a big drink of Pepsi right before you start.
No, I was thinking, to all the juggalos and juggalettes out there, it's your favorite podcast, Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousma.
Okay. What? Juggalos and juggalettes? I didn't realize we were popular with that demographic. But I'm Kim, and I'm Kim the Geek on Twitter.
We gotta be popular with somebody, right?
We're popular with ourselves, I guess.
There you go. Can't go wrong with that.
We're probably the top #1 podcast among our family and friends.
Yeah. No, it's probably Joe Rogan. He made an exclusive deal with Spotify.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That is insane. Podcasts are going corporate, folks.
Yeah, it had to happen at some point.
Yeah. Before we begin the show proper, there is one bit of wrestling news, but this is kind of sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah. About a decade or so ago, there was a tag team in the WWE that was there for about a couple of years at most. They didn't really make many ripples, but the team was called Crime Time, and one of the members on that team was a gentleman by the name of Shad Gaspard. And, you know, after leaving the WWE, he worked on the independents, but also did some movie work. In fact, his last movie was being the last person that Harley Quinn kicked, you know, in the face in the movie Birds of Prey.
Oh, okay.
So he was in that, but earlier this week, he was swimming with his son off the beach of Venice Beach, California. There were strong undercurrents that pulled him away. Just as rescuers came up to rescue him, he told them to get his son first, which they did. His son is fine. He unfortunately was dragged away and drowned and passed away.
That's a shame.
That is a shame, but I mean, I did want to bring it up. I mean, wrestling has a lot of negative stigmas, and if you've watched any episode of Dark Side of the Ring or even know a cursory knowledge of the history of professional wrestling in this country, a lot of it is well earned. But there is good that comes out of wrestling as well, and you know, somebody that, you know, put his life, you know, over his kid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you would hope most parents would do that. Of course,
I'm pretty sure most parents would.
Most would, but still, just if you're gonna go out like a hero. So definitely send thoughts and everything to his family. I'm sure they listen to us every week. I don't know.
Probably not, but that is terrible.
It is. It's a tragedy. So
and, yeah, I'm very sorry to his family for their loss.
Yeah. Anyway, let's segue into the show proper here. We have had an update on a previous topic we've talked about.
Oh, really?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. More the Pepsi coming back up. I'm gassy today. Just so gassy. I just don't know where it's coming from.
It's coming from the bottle of Pepsi. You should drink. Did you see me drinking soda right before the show? No, because I know myself. If I'm drinking soda for the next hour, I'm going to be burping on and off.
Yeah, well.
And my coworkers just love it.
It's entertaining for somebody, I guess. I don't know. But,
I don't know.
Anyway, earlier this week, Zack Snyder put a word out for people to watch a watch-along that he was going to be participating in for his movie Man of Steel, which was his initial entry into the DC cinematic universe. He ended up going on to make Batman v Superman, as well as starting Justice League, the much maligned movie that came out in theaters, I believe, in 2016. And what happened at that watch-along, at the end of the Man of Steel watch-along, he announced that HBO Max has made a deal with him to come back to the Warner Brothers fold to essentially complete his version of the Justice League movie.
Okay.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't really care.
Well,
I mean, I know there's some fanboys out there probably shitting their pants, just like with excitement, just super thrilled about blah, blah, blah. But you know what? That movie was just junk, and I don't know if a Zack Snyder cut can make it any better.
I'll put it this way. I mean, I've made it clear that, you know, his take on the DC characters I just did not like. That does not mean every decision he made in that franchise was bad. I mean, casting,
The casting was great.
Yeah, I mean, the casting, was definitely
There's
great.
no faults with the casting. But it was just so...
You don't want an Ayn Rand and Superman don't mix.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, because Superman is all about being selfless and for the greater good, and Ayn Rand...
There's a selfish bitch.
Yeah, her philosophies were really about being out for number one. And while I can respect that, you do have to take care of yourself. But, if we're going to get really out there with this, our country wouldn't be in the state it is if we had more people following the Superman ideology rather than the Ayn Rand ideology.
Like that idiot. I think we talked about it. The old lady, the video I saw on Twitter of the old lady who refused to sign a cop's $80 ticket for a busted taillight that she admitted to the cop.
Then she freaks out and
drives him on a high-speed chase.
On a high-speed chase, then gets pulled out of the car, tackled to the ground, and tasered. And if she had just acted with respect, but she was just like, "Oh no, you can't do this to me. Yeah. No, I refuse this." And it's like, they're giving you a ticket. You can't refuse a ticket.
Yeah.
It's just, you get the ticket, just take the ticket, go on with life. If you want to fight it, that's what you go to court for. Yeah, that's a whole Law and Order kind of thing.
Yeah, be pissed, take the ticket, drive away. Don't give the cop the finger.
Yeah, don't give the cop the finger. Don't argue with the cop. Call him names, spit at him. Yeah, that lady... I mean, we talked about this. That lady would be dead if she had been black or any other color than white.
Yep. But anyway, speaking of Superman.
Speaking of Superman, if she'd been more like Superman and just been like, well, I screwed up. Take the ticket. Yeah. It was obvious. I saw pictures of the car afterwards, too. It had been obvious she'd been in a car accident. She probably shouldn't have been driving that truck around anyway.
This is America. I got rights. Rights.
If it had just happened and she was trying to drive the truck home, you go to court and you say, "Hey, here's what happened." They'd probably be like, "Oh, okay, no problem." Knock the ticket off.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking $80 here. Yeah. I mean, for what that lady did. I mean, yeah, if you were late paying that ticket, you're not getting dragged to jail for that. I mean, they may add some interest on it or something like that.
No.
But that woman is going to spend some time behind bars.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they showed her mugshots and stuff.
Good. I mean,
She
should. Another thing that, before we get back on topic here, another thing that did kind of piss me off is that the Twitter post in question where I saw that video ended up calling that woman Karen.
Oh no, she wasn't a Karen.
We have a mutual friend, Karen.
Yes, we do.
That is not that stereotype at all.
And poor Karen, she is just hating this whole Karen trend.
I mean, because one time on I had left a Facebook message or something like that, and then she responded, and I responded back with a GIF that just said "Well, Karen," without realizing that with everything going on, it may not be the best thing.
Well, hopefully this Karen thing will pass, and it'll be like my sister Katrina when Hurricane Katrina happened. Mm-hmm. She got so much crap. She was in high school or middle school at the time. Just so many Katrina jokes, and she was just like, "Why did you name me Katrina?"
Because we knew there would be a hurricane that would come at this particular time in history. Yeah. We were going to get you left. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, back to Superman.
Yeah, Zack Snyder, again, his take on the films I didn't like. So I have no plans on watching the Justice League cut, but I will say this. There are people that enjoyed his take on the films. There are people that are film buffs and are fascinated by the history of this because, whether you like Zack Snyder's take on those films or not, as I said before, if Warner Brothers really hadn't once tried to speed up production on this, didn't kind of postpone things to make sure they had the right story and the right group of people and all that. I mean, Warner Brothers is who the fans should be directing their anger at here. Not Zack Snyder, not that people that don't like Zack Snyder movies, not at Joss Whedon, because Joss Whedon was hired to do a job and he did it as best he could. Results weren't good, but I don't think Steven Spielberg could have made, chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah.
So for people like that, I'm actually kind of I'm happy for them, because they get a fascinating piece of movie history to kind of look back on, a different take on the Justice League. And hey, if it makes more people kind of appreciate his work, great. But again, going back to the Warner Brothers angle, people need to be angry at Warner Brothers here, because guess where this is debuting? HBO Max. Who owns HBO Max? Warner Brothers. What company made Justice League? That was the Pepsi. Warner Brothers.
Besides the fact, fans, there's always going to be someone who's not happy.
Yeah.
I mean, today I was watching a stream on Twitch of Bethesda games. They're the ones who've made Fallout and Elder Scrolls Online and numerous other games that people love. So I'm watching their stream. They're doing an unboxing of the collector's edition of the new expansion pack that's coming out next week for Elder Scrolls Online. Mm-hmm. And rather than being excited in the chat's going by on one side, then you've got the four different people on a Zoom call from their homes. You've got these different, like the community manager and the art director and the lore master and another community manager all talking about, okay, we got this great thing coming out. And then you've got in the chat, you see a lot of people who are like, ooh, I'm so excited. Ooh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see this. Oh my gosh. And then you've got a couple of people who are like, why are the battlegrounds so broken? Why won't you do this? Why is there so much lag and blah, blah, blah? And I'm just like, can't you be excited about the new scene? I mean, it's like, yeah, they got other issues, but why are you... I don't understand why people play Elder Scrolls Online if they want to do, like, player versus player and nothing but that. It's not a game that's really designed for... It's designed for exploring and... Anyway, there's a lot of different aspects to it, but...
Yeah.
It just what you're saying about, like, fans, like, never being happy. It's just totally reminded me of the experience I had today. And I was just like... okay, this is cool. Because I'm not getting a physical collector's edition. It's cool to see what they're getting with it. That's a neat action figure, that sort of thing. And then they gave away some prizes too, and I'm like, okay, well that was cool. And then just like lazy people, why is there so much lag and blah blah blah? And I'm just like, because you're living in the middle of nowhere and you have shitty internet. That's why. Yeah,
you're in Nebraska and got 56K modem, so when. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're using what, like satellite for broadband gaming, pal? Calm down.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, as much as I like the country and stuff, yeah, I'll never live out in the country because I won't be able to get decent internet. Wherever I live, I have to have decent internet.
Which is a shame because we have the ability to do that.
I know, and we've got like the money's there because apparently we can bail out every corporation in America, and we've got a lot of people out of work right now. Why can't we work on our infrastructure and things like that?
No, that Jeff Bezos needs a new platinum swimming pool. Remember that. We got to sacrifice to make sure he gets some money.
Jeff Bezos should just take $1 billion of his dollars
and shove it up his ass.
Well, that would be painful. No, I'm just thinking if he just took just a fraction of what he makes and he has, and just puts it into something that's going to benefit him too, like say internet infrastructure nationwide. That's going to benefit him. People are going to use that internet to order things from Amazon.
It would. I mean, I know Google has been working on internet service like that in certain areas of the country they are actively testing out.
Yeah.
So who knows about that? But just anyway, back to Superman.
Yeah, back to Superman.
So yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I think back to when the news of Zack Snyder dropping out of the Justice League first hit, and I wrote that article for Latino Review Media, which resulted in some death threats levied against me.
That's ridiculous.
For those people, I hope they can, to quote Ice-T, they should eat a bag of dicks.
No, dicks are too good for him. I should just eat a bag of shit.
There you go. Have it come out like have somebody standing over them, like with like those cake frosting things.
Oh,
put it like
God.
in a garbage bag.
Yeah,
Spread it
that's
out like
gross. Oh, that's disgusting. I'm never gonna be able to eat a cupcake again.
And there's some corn. No.
Oh, eat your vegetables now.
It doesn't ingest properly.
Why don't we beat him around the head and neck with like a big bag full of corn cobs? That'd hurt.
That's a little vicious. I mean, that reminds me of that scene from
Well, they're
Metal.
threatening to kill you, so I think beating them with corn cobs is like the lesser of two evils.
No, I'm more of a passive aggressive type of guy.
Well, yeah, I know that, but
Yeah.
I'm more of a like tell it to your face or silently. I either silently seethe or I just flat up tell you to your face. I don't really have a middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Back to Superman
again. Yeah, for the folks that do enjoy Zack Snyder's movies, or the folks that are just plainly curious about this, enjoy it. I mean,
why not?
Because at the end of the day, too, an artist, whether I like the work or not, that was hindered at being able to do the job to the best of his ability is getting a chance to do a makeover, have a mulligan, be able to fix fix the mess that's there. And
in life, you don't get very many of those, so
you don't. So that should be applauded as well. So at the end of the day, fuck Warner Brothers, because this is a situation of their own creation, and they have found a way to profit off of it. And the people that have been upset over these past few years will gladly hand over every dollar they can to have HBO Max in their homes so they can watch this movie. Mm-hmm. So the corporate overlords win again. Over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about something a little bit more, I wouldn't say serious, because it's entertainment based, but it's books. I read a lot. Mm-hmm. And one of the authors that I like, I mentioned back in February when we were talking about Black History Month, and I was talking about creators of color that I enjoyed. And the author is Colson Whitehead. And he wrote a book called The Nickel Boys, which won the Pulitzer Prize in May.
Hooray!
The beginning of this month, they had the Pulitzer Prize announcements, and he won the Pulitzer Prize. It's his second Pulitzer Prize. He won this first one for the Underground Railroad. So Nickel Boys is sort of based on a true story of a reform school in Florida in the 50s and 60s that was basically designed for unruly black kids, whether they're unruly because they're actually criminals or unruly because
of their skin color,
they're standing up for themselves.
Yeah. And by skin color, I want to make it clear that people's perception of them because of their skin color.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm super happy for him that he's won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and both of those books are amazing. And if you can, you should read them. And so I'm excited to tell you that they were having a sale on Amazon where if you we just slammed Amazon and I'm still like, well, I read on my Kindle.
Fuck Jeff Bezos. I'm going to Amazon to buy me this book now.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Gonna read me some Washington Post.
Pretty much. Pretty much. You've just described my Thursday.
Fuck you, Mr. Bezos. Now I'm gonna read a book on my Kindle. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm super excited that I'm going to be soon starting a new book. But the thing is, it's about a zombie apocalypse in New York City, and I don't know if it's going to be a little too close to home being that New York City is one of the hardest hit areas for the coronavirus.
But the coronavirus doesn't turn people into zombies.
Yet. Yet. You never know. It could be starting with the coronavirus. And then it mutates, and it mutates again.
Yeah, and then it goes back into time and creates Trump supporter.
Yeah, then we've got vampires and zombies and werewolves ruling the world.
Oh my.
Oh my. Vampires and werewolves and zombies, oh my.
That'll be on HBO Max.
That will be. No kidding. That stuff sells. That shit sells.
Damn
Anyhow,
right.
if you do like to read on the Kindle, they're doing a thing now. If you buy like $20 worth of Kindle books, you get $5 of credit. It's a Memorial Day sale thing.
Boom.
Boom. So
Yeah.
I did that because it's not like I don't have enough books to read.
Well, DC Universe actually has a decent rewards program that they've instituted.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's really easy to rack up points and to redeem them. Like for instance, one of their things that you can redeem for only 400 points is a free month of the DC Universe app.
Oh.
The very first day I started using the rewards program, I got 265 points.
By what?
Within an hour.
By doing what?
Reading comics. Some of them would be longer, but if you watch some of the TV shows or movies, but anything you do on that app can get you points. They do cap it off at 265, and then you have to wait a week to start accumulating points again. But it is nice to have a service like that is rewarding people that are actually using it.
Yeah, it's nice when the points programs are actually useful. And you don't have to spend like a ton of money to get points.
Yeah, I mean, the Marvel has one called Marvel Insider, and it's same type of concept. Do this, do that, you get points, but you got to get 75,000 points to get a month of Marvel Unlimited.
75,000?
75,000, and like you're lucky if some of the activities will give you 1,000 points.
Oh,
so it takes
geez.
a long time to build it up. So. DC, they've been kind of knocking it out of the park with their DC Universe
Well,
app.
maybe they actually listened to some of the people who were making suggestions.
They have a comparable comic size going through the entire history of DC Comics for stuff to read. For on the video side of things, classic cartoons. The new Stargirl show that's on the CW debuts the next day on DC Universe.
Oh.
The one with Luke Wilson, who played Starman's sidekick, but then he marries a woman later, and then that woman's daughter, his stepdaughter, becomes Stargirl.
Okay.
Yeah. It's based on one of their older properties, the Justice Society of America, the group that came before the Justice League.
So convoluted. I can't keep track of all that sort of stuff. But then again,
yeah,
most lore and backstory for most universes can be very convoluted.
And especially with comic books, there's never going to be a definitive start here, end here type of thing.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving. Things are changing. What was once canon, 1 year is not canon the next. It's at the board of the, group of editors that run each company. For the main stories, for the main characters we all know and love.
Yeah.
For the indie comics, it's, creator based at that point, depending on where they're at. But anyway, past few weeks, we've had a rather wonderful segment. And I think, for the foreseeable future, we're going to find a way to keep this going.
Okay.
Any way we can. But we've been talking about our top 5 favorites. And what we've been doing the past few weeks is going by year. So our focus now is on television shows. Last week we did our top 5 favorite shows from the year we are 20. Now we're going to talk about when we were 30. What year was that for you?
2003.
2006 for me. So, like we've been doing, start off, state your choice, and then we'll discuss it and then go back and forth from there.
Okay. 2003. I had a hard time with 2003. There wasn't a lot of shows on that I really liked, but I found 5, so yay. Arrested Development.
Never saw it.
You never watched Arrested Development?
It wasn't.
It has its moments. The original series I think is funnier than the Netflix reboot, but both are amusing.
I mean, there was one thing that I guess I found out that they did that I thought was pretty funny. I guess in like either 3 different episodes or 3 different seasons, they had like a character say Beetlejuice in like 3 separate seasons, and then the third time a character said that, in the background you could see Beetlejuice walk by.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
but yeah, that was the first real big break that Jason Bateman had since the Valerie Harper show from the 80s.
Since he was a kid, basically. Yeah. And
I mean,
he's actually done a lot with that break. He's gone on and done a lot of stuff.
His work as an actor has really surprised me, because when he was a snotty punk kid back in the 80s, I fucking hated him.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I mean, his sister was okay, but he just looked like a snotty little bitch. He did. Like, I'm Jason Bateman, and you just want to slap him in the face, like, fuck you.
Well, that was the kind of character he played.
I don't care. That was him in real life. Fuck him.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway.
What was your choice?
All right, my first choice. It was still in the year in 2006 in first run, so I put it on my list here. That is the show called 24.
I just have not been able to get into 24. A lot of people I know are like, this show's the best thing ever. And I'm just like, I've watched a couple episodes and I'm just like,
I mean, it was really the first show that was saved because of DVDs. Because like the first season was not highly ranked at all. But once they put season 1 out on DVD, a lot of people bought it, myself included. They were able to sit at home and spend a weekend going through and watching the entire thing, and then they wanted more from there.
This is like the first show that's really meant to be bingeable.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to think of each season of 24 like a Tom Clancy book. It's a book. Each hour is just a chapter in a story.
That just seems really, just the concept. I mean, the concept is kind of cool, but at the same time sounds very tedious.
It all boils down to really the characters. If you're not buying the characters, if you're not invested in the characters from the first moment you see them, within 5 minutes, then it doesn't matter what type of format they have for the show. You're not going to care for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kept 24 on the air for as long as it was. I mean, the first season with the first episode was, I thought one of my absolute favorite series pilots ever, because it set up the story so well, and it just kept you interested. And the great thing about 24, when they were firing on all cylinders, is how they were able to keep that cliffhanger aspect going each and every week. Then dun, 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 and that show too ended up inspiring the format of my first book. My first book, Time to Play the Game. Each chapter is an hour in the day, done over a 24-hour period. So, one of my favorite shows. Thought I'd put it on the list. What do you have next?
I have NCIS. It's some people are really into the show, and I have actually watched most of the seasons through the years. I enjoy it, and it's still on the air. And I don't know why I like it, because it's very like America in a way. Because NCIS is the Naval something investigative services. It's basically Navy cops.
Navy cops.
So they investigate anything bad that happens to anyone who's in the Navy or the Marines.
Well, it's kind of like I mentioned with Law and Order. I mean, there are, some minor stories that carry over episode from episode, but it's one of those essentially classic type of shows that anybody can just pop on, dive into without, to your point with 24, not have to know an entire character's backstory to get what's going on.
That's true. And what's cool about NCIS too is there's some very strong female characters that have been on the show. Very strong, very smart, which I really like. The female characters are very well well rounded out.
I like that too. No,
No, I like it for those reasons. Good female character writing, and every episode's a little different, and there's a mystery to solve, and I like that sort of stuff.
Nice. All right, my next one, Doctor Who.
Okay.
Love the show. I saw it as a kid. That was also during the time when Star Trek The Next Generation was around, so seeing, old, classic Doctor Who episodes compared to what Star Trek was able to do, I was a kid, I was going to love Star Trek, but I still grew up very much aware of the Doctor Who universe, who the good guys were, who the bad guys were, type of deal. So when I found out the show was coming back on the air, I was skeptical, because I thought it would just be more of the same, really. But,
that sounds like a lot of people were very skeptical about Next Generation for that reason too. They were just like, is this going to be more of the Shatner kind of acting school? Is it going to be more goofy, or is it going to be serious? And everybody was just blown away, I think, by Next Generation.
Well, the beauty of Doctor Who, the first showrunner for when it came back in 2005 was a gentleman by the name of Russell T Davies.
He is a genius.
Yeah, he created
that guy's a friggin' genius.
He created the British version of Queer as Folk, the one that the American version was based on. He only did 4 seasons of Doctor Who. 2006 was the second season that he was involved in, but he was able to. He had the right focus when he was running the show, in that the main character was the Doctor's companion, not the Doctor, because that allowed the audience to be able to get acclimated to everything much easier.
And it's much easier to identify with like a normal human than with an alien, right?
Yeah, and the thing with the Doctor, going back to the very first incarnation of the Doctor, is that character is quirky. He's unique. Sometimes he can be somewhat normal, like the Fifth Doctor would probably, and the Fifth Doctor is probably the closest the character has gotten to. Or maybe the Eighth Doctor as well, but just some sense of like what you would expect from a normal person.
So who played the Fifth Doctor and the Eighth Doctor? Because most of us were just like, eh? So who was the Fifth Doctor?
Peter Davison, and Paul McGann was the Eighth Doctor.
Okay.
Paul McGann officially only played the Doctor once. There was, in 1996, they attempted to bring the show back. The BBC had a co-production with Fox, and the movie was released as a TV movie on the Fox network. And Eric Roberts played the Master. Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was surprised at how well that show was. The special effects are TV special effects, so you do gotta let some of that slide. But just from day one since the show came back, they've done a brilliant job of making it a satisfying watch for long-term fans while not making it an overwhelming chore for new fans. New people can dive in to pretty much any episode. I would recommend starting off with a new Doctor and then going from there, but it's a great show.
All right,
next one,
Mythbusters.
All right,
I like this show. I haven't watched it in a while. I think it's off the air now, but
well, there are different versions. I mean, the hosts are doing similar types of shows with
the concept is basically these two guys who are into science, and they come up, they take some kind of myth, and then they bust it, basically, and it just can be like things like,
so that's what Mythbusters means.
Yeah, just things about like say a bullet can't do this, or if you put this in front of a train it'll stop it, or just things like that, just random weird things that involve like physics and explosions and stuff.
I remember one they did was the experiment was shooting a gun into the air to see that if the bullet, once it landed back on the ground, could actually hurt you.
Yeah, they've done things with like stunts in kung fu movies. Can you like catch a sword between your two hands, like clapping your hands together and catch a sword and stop it from hitting you? And I'm just like, how are they gonna reproduce that? They use a lot of ballistic jelly which is
Oh, that reminds me of the show that used to be on Spike TV called The Deadliest Warrior.
yeah, it's similar to that sort of stuff. Yeah,
And for folks that haven't seen that show, it's amazing. They take like warriors from different cultures, and then based on computer science, kind of put together which warrior would end up, kicking ass the most. Like ninjas versus the yakuza.
Yeah.
Like
And then there's this other show on History Network called Top Shots, where they take like all these different historical guns out and fire them, and it's a competition show with all these people who are gun experts of some sort, and oh god, I love that show too. That show's like fun because they come up with all these really weird scenarios, and okay, now you have to fire it through there, and to get it to there, to get it to there, and you're just like, what? And you have to use a Gatling gun. What? So, yep, just one of those where you turn the crank and it's a machine gun. That's a hand crank machine gun. If you don't know
Dance,
what
boy!
gun is.
Yeehaw!
Pretty much. What was your next choice?
My next one was a show that around this time was actually brought back on the air, I believe, for the second time. Family Guy.
God, overrated.
I wouldn't go that far. What I would say is this. I think they hit their prime between years 7 and 9. I think the show has gone on for far too long. Kind of like Stephen King books. You got some absolute legends, classics, amongst all the chaff.
Yeah. The thing is with Stephen King is that his books will sell a lot, no matter what.
Look at Family Guy. They're a multi-million-dollar franchise.
Yeah, and so therefore, Stephen King, his editors don't really edit him very well. Because they're just like, it's gonna sell, so just get it out the door.
That's his grocery list in there. I don't give a fuck. Put it in.
Yeah.
People will think it's a clue. But just everything that show's done. Like, my absolute favorite was the I Love Jesus episode. That was the introduction to Surfing Bird.
Yeah, I mean, I know what Surfing Bird was. And
well, Peter
it's just Family Guy just, I don't know, it hits a level in my brain where I'm like, I don't want to watch this because it makes me feel stupid. I mean, there's parts of it that are funny in small doses. I can take it in small doses. I can't watch more than maybe one episode at a time, and then I'm just like, no, what did I just do? Why did I lose 20 minutes of my life?
Yeah, and to be clear, I am not implying it's high art at all. It is a distraction. It is mindless entertainment, but...
You quoted an awful lot.
It's funny. I'll quote it all I want.
Okay, then.
Yeah, what's your next one?
Reno 911. If we're going to talk about stupid shit.
Oh.
Reno 911.
And you want to badmouth Family Guy?
Reno 911 is
garbage.
Physical weird comedy at its best. It introduced us to a few people that nobody had heard of before. And I don't know. The thing is I like Reno 911 a lot more than I like Family Guy. But in small doses. I can't watch more than a couple episodes before I'm just like, oh, why don't I just watch? But yeah, I like Reno 911.
Eating a handful of sugar.
Because it's like Reno 911 is basically like a parody of Cops, and I find Cops kind of amusing at times to begin with.
Oh, Cops has its own channel on Pluto TV now.
Oh,
all Cops, all the time.
Oh, you shouldn't have told me that.
RuPaul's Drag Race channel, a Cops channel.
I'll just never leave the house ever again. What's your next choice?
We are staying with Comedy Central here. Chappelle's Show.
Yeah, that's another show I've never seen. Really, never really watched Chappelle's Show. I didn't have cable when it was out.
The first 2 seasons are the greatest sketch It's the greatest sketch comedy show ever made. Period.
You know, you've said that, but I just still haven't just watched it. I'm just like, okay. I got other things to do.
There was...
I got other crap to watch.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk about the last big sketch on the first episode, but it's probably best if I don't do that, and folks that know what I'm talking about know why.
Okay.
But, you know, for the show, the highlight for me has always been Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. You know.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, he talks about like one is about how
With the pancakes.
yeah, him and his brother were invited to Prince's house, and then Prince challenged them to a basketball game, and then the blouses versus the bitches or something like that, and then Prince and his crew ended up winning without breaking a sweat, and then here's some pancakes, bitches. But most of all was his retelling of his friendship with Rick James. And Dave Chappelle playing Rick James. I can watch that today and just have trouble breathing from laughing so hard. It's a celebration, bitches! What do the five fingers say to the face? Slap!
Okay. Alright, my last choice on the list, because we were supposed to pick 5, it's a show that was on TLC called What Not to Wear, with Clinton and Stacy, and basically they find somebody gets nominated by their family or friends because they just can't dress themselves at all for whatever reason. And so then they whisk them off to New York with their clothes. They go through their clothing that they currently have and tell them exactly why it's crap. And at the end of the first part of the show, they have a garbage can full of clothes, and then the hosts are like, "Here's $5,000 on a Visa gift card. Now go shopping." And they try to send the person off on their own to figure out what's better for them to be wearing, and of course they fail miserably. And then Clinton and Kelly show up on the second day of shopping to take them shopping, and they go on a whirlwind tour of New York, shopping.
Oh my God.
And then they get a makeover.
Ooh.
And they get their hair done and their makeup done. Or if they're a guy, they get skincare tips, shaving tips.
Pedicure?
Sure, pedicure, manicure, whatever, all this stuff. And then they have an after moment. And then they go back to the person's hometown and have a big after moment, and everybody's happy and smiling. And yeah, it's just a typical makeover show, and I liked it because of the fact that they weren't just making them over for one day. They were setting them up with a wardrobe so they could succeed ongoing. It's an ongoing process more than just here's one outfit and a new hairstyle. Boom.
Okay, LaRonda. Anyway. All right, my last one. Another Comedy Central show.
Okay.
The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Oh, you can't go wrong with The Daily Show.
Yeah, I mean...
It's good now, too, even with Trevor Noah.
I haven't seen it much with him. I don't care for his delivery more than anything. What I mean by that is, how a comedian says a joke is just as important as the joke itself. And,
yeah.
I don't think he's the best comedian in the world.
But he's not the best comedian in the world, but I like him. He's got a very earnest delivery. And some people I don't think like that. Me, I'm kind of I like it.
I'm going to put it like this. I compare him to Coke. I'm a Pepsi person. I would compare him to Coke. If there is only Coke in the room, then I'm going to drink Coke. I'm going to enjoy Coke. If The Daily Show with Trevor Noah's on the air, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm not seeking it out. That's where I really stand with him.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. With Jon Stewart, though, it's one thing I really miss about his show more than anything is that how he kept both Democrat and Republicans' feet to the fire, and would often invite on conservative guests and treat them with absolute respect. Challenge them. But, they knew coming in that, they weren't going to get softball questions, but, always with respect. And, in these days and times from people in the entertainment /news business, because for as much as they talk about The Daily Show being a comedy show, people get their news from there just as much as they get it from a Hannity source,
Yeah.
We need some people that are willing to, have an a legitimate open airing of all sides, and not the I'm just going to say the opposite thing, but demand to be heard. Anyway, next week we will be discussing our top 5 favorite shows from when we were 40, and that will definitely put us into the Netflix era.
Yeah, that does, doesn't it?
Yep, so we can definitely choose some shows from Netflix. I think Amazon Prime may have had some shows. Maybe for me, they probably had some
Probably
shows.
more for you than for me, but yeah.
But we'll be able to go on from there. But
Cool.
now we are talking about our
Album of the week.
And for folks at home, tell them what we are discussing this week.
We are discussing my choice. The album is Exile in Guyville by Liz Phair.
Why'd you choose this one?
Well, I was introduced to this by my ex-husband. I hadn't really been a Liz Phair fan, and I was just kind of like, it was early in our relationship. We were driving in his car, and I'm like, what is this on the radio? It's like, oh, it's a tape I've got. Yes, a tape. It's like, it's called Liz Phair. She's Liz Phair. I'm like, oh, I've heard of Liz Phair. Oh, this is better than I expected. And I really got into her work from there.
All right.
Yeah.
This is going to be what you would call your favorite album from her?
Probably. It's her first album, her first, official studio album.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of songs on it that I really like. And so I would say, yeah, this is probably my favorite album of hers. It's kind of scraped back and raw. And I actually saw her perform. She went on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, both doing acoustic sets. So I saw her open for the Smashing Pumpkins doing an acoustic set, which was really cool. And the Smashing Pumpkins concert after her opening was great too, because it was basically they did is they started out with acoustic versions, and then they gradually kind of got a little louder, and a little louder, and a little louder, and a little more electric till they got to the last few songs, and they were just like,
so they ripped off the Talking Heads.
Oh, did the Talking Heads do that?
They did it. I can't speak for their concerts necessarily, but in the movie Stop Making Sense, the concert movie that Jonathan Demme did, that's what they did. They started out, I believe it was just David Byrne starting out with like a boombox that had a pre-recorded drum beat going on, and then he sang, and then they added more musicians for song after song after
song. That's kind of what they did in a way. It was a very good show. Very, very good show. It had been a while since I'd worn earplugs. I was glad I had some.
All right, so first track, what is it?
I thought you were going to do our disclaimer. You always want to do the disclaimer.
The disclaimer. Disclaimer. For folks, if you're listening to this for the first time, we try our best to give honest reviews, but we give the types of reviews that if the roles were reversed and we were the artist receiving this criticism, it would be the type of reviews we want to hear. Also, one of us or both of us may have some opinions of this music that you may not like. Mm-hmm. You are right. We are right, because ultimately enjoyment of music is subjective. There are some technical aspects that you can definitively say a person is good or bad on, but I think of someone like John Lee Hooker has a bad voice, but look at the legacy he's had. Lemmy from Motorhead, horrible voice. Look at his legacy. Because there's a lot more to being a good musician than being proficient at your instrument.
Okay. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one.
Exactly.
And they all work.
Well, not always. There's constipation or diarrhea.
That has nothing to do with your asshole. That's your digestive system.
But where does it come out?
Through your asshole, but...
Just someone giving an opinion like a Gatling gun with their butt? I don't know.
Okay, moving on.
You're like, what have I gotten into? Damn it.
Yeah, pretty much. So this album, it's long. There's a lot of tracks, but they're very short. And there's a couple of them that I'm willing to just skip right over because they're kind of blah. They're like some slow instrumental with like a little bit of a few kind of... It's more like almost spoken word, and spoken word was kind of big at the time. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like... It's like there's a little bit of a song, but most of it was just some guitar strumming and yeah. All right. So the first track, one of the best tracks on the album, in my opinion, 6'1". Strong lyrics, very strong lyrics. All about standing strong and being your own woman.
Damn right.
Yeah.
The notes I had, nice guitar riff opening the song. I appreciated that. The vocals, you're probably going to hit me with this, but I said they were Courtney Love-esque vocals. And the Liz didn't have the range I like in a singer. A lot of her singing on this album was just more like low or high, but at the same type of intensity throughout. Mm-hmm. There were times, where she did have some more range, so I know she can sing, but she was going for a certain effect here, which for me just put it this way, it was not my cup of tea. That doesn't make it bad, but I did not enjoy it. One thing I did like about the song was the solid, simple, and effective bass.
Yeah, that's a theme throughout, is there's a lot of real simple music going on, but it's effective. Mm-hmm. It's extremely effective. Track 2 is called Help Me Mary, and I don't know what it is about this song, but I really like this one as well. It's just very, very sing-alongable. Sing-alongable? Words.
Yeah.
They're difficult.
Who needs your stinking words? It's 1:51 as we record this, so you know.
Yeah, you know. It's
We'll just come up with whatever we can, and you're gonna fucking deal with it, people.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Help me, Mary.
Help me, Mary. The notes I had, the vocals to me were uninspired. She comes off as not really wanting to be bothered to sing more than just the way she was, which just she sounded bored more than anything. Solid pop punk guitars in the song, dug those, but
I love those.
At the end of the day, it just did not click with me. And again, to be clear about her vocals, I stand by my comments, but that's just my opinion. Just because I did not like her delivery doesn't mean it's the wrong delivery. Just ultimately not the song for me.
All right, track 3 is Glory, and it's one of these ones that I was just kind of like, ugh. But, the thing is with this album is I really like it as a whole, but there are definitely some songs on here that I'm just kind of like, skip.
I dug the acoustic opening of the song. Mm-hmm. That's really the only thing that kind of stuck out. The vocals, again, I'm not going to press that point too hard because I can say that for a number of tracks going forward here. But again, the acoustic opening was actually pretty good. Dug it.
Alrighty, track 4, Dance of the Seven Veils. I don't have anything written down for this, and I've listened to this album I don't even know how many times, but because of the fact that I usually just listen to it, and I don't sit and I look at each track as it goes by, I couldn't tell you how this song goes right off the top of my head, even though if I heard it, I could probably sing along with it.
I can tell you my notes.
Go ahead.
I said that she finally has some range in her vocals. She does something different than just the mumbling. I put Nirvana-esque guitars. What I mean by that is, it seems like all throughout this album, and it was a common thing in the 90s, what I think they did is, with electric guitars, tune the speakers like all the way up, but then had the guitar player play as soft as they can, so you're still going to get loud noise, and it will sonically be loud if you put headphones on, but it's being played as if it were on like a soft acoustic guitar.
I don't know if it's that, or if it's just that a lot of these folks were self-taught, and they didn't necessarily know how to play their instruments very well. Plus, they were recording a lot of this stuff kind of at home with like little like 4-track recorders. It's you feed in each thing, and so there was a lot of, at this time there were a lot of the music sonically was very experimental in a way, because people were just sort of like, it was a weird time in history because the Gulf War had just kind of happened. It ended in I think 92 or 93. It was going on from like 1990. I think it was 90 to 92. I know I was in high school.
Yeah.
When it was happening, and a lot of my friends were just about to turn 18, and we were all kind of freaking out. Like, what if they restart the draft? Because there hadn't really been a giant war since Vietnam, and they drafted people in Vietnam. So there was a lot of uncertainty. we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet, so a lot of people were just passing tapes around and just recording what they could when they could, and that's where this came from. It's kind of I'm giving you some history to the listeners. I'm giving the listeners some history in case that they were, because the thing is people in their 20s now, they were born around this time, so they don't know what was going on musically.
And I know one thing I had to keep reminding myself while listening to this was a lot of my reactions was that it sounded stereotypical, when in fact this is probably one of the albums that was establishing what that stereotype is.
Yeah, because this came out in 1990, so this
93.
is 93?
93.
I think this was earlier than that. Let me look. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this is one of the founders of the 90s sound.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just glad that, she had a little more oomph in her performance, more than anything.
Okay, you're right. It is 1993. I was mistaken.
What was that? No, I'm kidding.
Well, she was doing some musical stuff before this. This was her first studio album, like we said. So I probably just have dates in my mind mixed up. No big deal. I'm just old. So yeah, track 5.
All right.
Never Said. I like this one because the lyrics make me think of sort of arguments you have with people. I never said this, I never said that. I never promised this, I never promised that, kind of thing. That's what I dug about this song, is the lyrics.
I wrote it sounded like your typical like 90s pop rock type song, which is not an insult. I wouldn't call this the greatest song in the world or anything like that, of course, but it had a nice groove to it, which I enjoyed. The vocals, again, just didn't do it for me. I did enjoy the harmonies, and the guitar work was pretty solid. I mean, my favorite instrument when it comes to popular music is going to be the guitar, more than anything else. So when it impresses me, that says something.
Yeah. Track 6 is called Soap Star Joe, and this one, the guitars are solid, the bass is solid. It's the lyrics that really get me on this one too, because it's basically talking about, like, typical guy, he's just a hero in a long line of heroes, etc., etc., and just how there's certain types of guys you always meet, and Soap Star Joe, that's one of those typical guys.
Yeah.
A lot of Liz Phair's music is about relationships and problems with men and things of that nature, which is very identifiable for most people, especially you remember what you felt like in your 20s.
Yeah.
When you're going around and sleeping around and doing stuff.
And it's not like, there are guy musicians that don't do that. There are plenty of guys that do that. But one thing that's always made me feel icky more than anything is how you will have focus on songs like He's So Vain or You Ought to Know, and they're questioning Alanis Morissette and Carly Simon, the creators of those songs in particular, for years about the identity of who the subject of the song is, whereas a guy does the same thing. Oh, you're bad mouthing your ex, great, high five. And yet with the women, they're constantly getting grilled. Now, I think they've both turned it into something that is somewhat of a positive for them. But it's weird, that dynamic that women get grilled on who is this, whereas guys, it's just guys being guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the thing is with her songs too, I don't think they ever really. They at least for me, but then again, for You're So Vain and You Ought to Know, I never really cared who the guy was. I was just like identifying with the fact that, yeah, most of us have had like a guy in our life or a girl for that matter, someone in our life that screwed us over in some way, and we just were really pissed off and had something to say about it. And some of us were lucky enough to have the talent to put it into a song.
Yep.
So
the song in particular, the notes I had is that it sounded like a Rolling Stones song, which when I did some research was found out not a coincidence, because apparently when she created this album, her goal was to have essentially her answer to the Rolling Stones album Exile on Main Street. And each track is essentially kind of like a mirror to the songs that are on Exile in Main Street. So her kind of answer to that.
I remember reading something about that now that you mention it.
Yeah. The vocals are better, guitar work was solid, but this is where I started to notice that the guitar work was kind of sounding similar in each song. And yeah, I did dig the harmonica.
Okay, so the next two tracks, Explain It to Me and Canary, are two of those where I just didn't have much to say about either of them. And there's so many tracks on this album and so much that's coming up that's better that I'm just happy to just say, okay, and go on right on into track 9. Are you okay with that?
I can just give some basic thoughts here.
Okay.
Explain It to Me it opened up. It sounded like a 70s Linda Ronstadt song. Vocal, meh. Guitar work. The thing I noticed with this was that if the guitar work was going to be as simple as it was, why didn't she do an acoustic album? Why does she need an electric guitar to be able to do this? I think she'd be able to still have the intensity while still having an acoustic guitar. So there's that. Also, Explain It to Me had some Velvet Underground inspired drums. The drumming, especially near the end of the song, reminded me of the song Heroin. For Canary, I expected Richard Marx to start singing at the opening. It just sounded like an adult contemporary, and I just wasn't for me. So yeah, Mesmerizing. That's the next track.
There's something about this song. I don't know. It flows right through your ears, just in the right way for me, at least. It's hard to the way that I process music is hard to explain sometimes, because I feel it so viscerally sometimes that it's hard to put it into words. And some of these songs just really hit that little switch, and I'm just like, I can't explain why I like it so much. I just do.
Yeah, I mean, that's me around Taylor Swift. For Mesmerizing, it just sounded it's more 90s. And it was just, I've heard this before millions of other times. The vocal bit where she goes, I like it. I dug that. That was pretty inspiring.
I like it.
Halfway decent guitar solo. The guitar solo, again, it had a Rolling Stones feel to it, because this kind of feels like kind of like a Mick Taylor, Ron Wood type of guitar solo. And yeah.
Yep.
Which I think this is kind of telling me where we're going to go for the next album.
Okay. So. Track 10, Fucking Run.
Never been there.
One of the best songs on the album, in my opinion, if not the best.
What?
It's describing the day after a one-night stand. And she's kind of like, okay, this is weird, but I thought it was going to be different this time, but oh shit, it's not different this time. He's gonna fucking run. Because he's got stuff to do. I got work to do. I got things I gotta go do, babe. I gotta go. See you later. Never calls again. Been there. Not fun.
Yep.
Especially, it's one of those kind of things where it's like you're catching feelings and they're not. And you're just like, what did we just do? There's like so many different ways you can interpret this. But basically, if you've had a one night stand, I think you can identify with Fucking Run.
I get what you're saying there. I mean, because I've certainly been there. Having said that, it also does, for generally speaking, not about this song in particular, but generally, you would want to, cross fingers, have enough of a sense of being able to have that conversation of, let's just do this and that's it.
But you also got to think about the time that this was written.
Yeah.
This was pre-internet dating. This was when you would just pick up somebody at a bar.
Oh, I never would have dated. Oh my god.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I'm thinking back and I'm just like, I started using the internet in 1994. And I'm thinking before that, I was like, yeah, I didn't do much dating before the internet.
Oh my god.
It was, there was a lot of like in-person just weirdness and yeah. So when you think about it in terms of like, this was before Tinder, because, when you like, if you're using internet dating, it's pretty easy to just be like, okay, so what are you looking for in a relationship? Just looking for like friends with benefits, casual stuff? Okay. You're looking for more than that? Okay, you got it all figured out.
Yeah, and everybody's happy with that.
Usually.
Usually.
What then gets you and then makes you want to identify with fucking run are the people who ghost you. And ghosting is bad. Don't do it. Ghosting's bad. Just, if you don't want to see someone again, or you had like just awful sex, you just don't want anything to do with them, just say, I had fun. It's just not working for me. It just didn't click. Whatever.
I mean, ghosting is bad, yes, but
ghosting should be used only in like a desperate last ditch situation. Like, you tell somebody you're not interested and they just keep talking to you. Then you just like, okay.
But
or if it was unsafe.
But it's like if you had a date and there was like no chemistry on the date, nothing physical. I mean, sorry, I'm not going to call or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah.
But
we're talking one. It was, we enjoyed ourselves at that time. We went out and did something, but that was about the height of the enjoyment.
Yeah. So then, if you've said, at least at the end of the date, if you say anything about like, oh yeah, I'll call you again. I'll text you, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Then you'd better at least text him and say, yeah, it was fine, but I'm not interested in seeing you again. I don't know. I've been ghosted too many times. I think it's a cowardly thing to do. I think at the end of the date, you part ways, and then, afterwards when you get home, if you like think about it and you're like, yeah, I don't think I want to see him again, then you tell them. You just say, I'm just not interested in seeing you again. I'm sorry. There wasn't enough of a spark for me.
Yeah.
Just be honest. Because I'd rather that someone be honest with me than me be wondering, like, well, what did I do wrong? Are they going to call? Are they going to call? Are they going to call? What's going on? What's going on? Or if you've been talking to someone for like 3 or 4 weeks on whatever app, and it's like, then suddenly they disappear, you're just like, what the hell?
Where did I go? I was a CIA operative.
Yeah. Like, why did I waste my time? Are they dead? Did they go into the witness protection plan? That sort of thing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Back to the song.
I wrote, meh, didn't work for me. More uninspired mumbling. And who thought of using sleigh bells in the song?
Yeah, the bells were a little weird.
Yeah, it's just like, the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, girls, girls, girls.
I thought she was going to cover a cruise song here.
Girls, girls, girls. No, that would have been amusing, though. I like this one, too. This is a good song. But, yeah. I'm still, like, hung up on this ghosting thing. I can't believe that you think ghosting's okay to do.
Again, we're talking in limited situations. You have one uncomfortable bad date. I don't think it's the end of the world if people part the date and don't speak again. I'm not talking about dating someone for 6 months and then disappearing or anything like that. That's an asshole move. But like,
that's a big asshole move.
Yeah, I mean, like, one date, I don't owe them anything. They don't owe me anything. What does it matter if one date that didn't go well, you don't speak to that person again? Because again,
I mean, if it's one date, that's one thing. But if there had been like a lot of conversations and things, and just all this stuff leading up to that one date, and then you disappear,
Yeah, I mean, if you take the time to get to know somebody and give the impression that you're there for more than what you really want, and then you disappear, again, I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I'm talking that if you didn't do much chatting, and it's a person that says, I don't want to text too much. Let's just meet up at this place and see what happens. You meet up, and then it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's not even uncomfortable. Just like there's no chemistry. Tough to talk, have a conversation. If you part ways and don't talk to each other, I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm sorry.
See, that's the thing is like if somebody like doesn't want to text much or just doesn't want to talk at all beforehand, I'm like, well then what is getting together going to do? Because if you don't want to talk to me on a phone or a computer, are you really going to be that much of a conversationalist in person? Isn't that just going to be a waste of my time to begin with?
Yeah, because every introverted person has come to love text messaging, and a shy person, it's anybody dealing with anxiety, loves text messaging because you can have those conversations that with a person that you just met that you might not be able to have if you meet up with them in the bar or something like that. You can get those deeper conversations, but again, I'm not talking for every single situation that I would ghost. I would not do that, but again, if it's like one date, there's no expectations of it being anything more than just one date, and that one date doesn't go that well, sorry, I don't have a problem with not talking it. I don't think that's the end of the world. Yeah,
usually though, if I know the date hasn't gone well, I'll just tell them like right after the date, like I don't think there's enough chemistry here to make this work, something to that effect, or I'll text them as soon as I get home, like, hey, I got home safe, by the way.
You suck.
No.
I hope you didn't make it back, bitch.
No, I'm thinking to this one guy that I went on 2 dates with, that where at the end of the second date I was like, okay, there's not enough chemistry here, because
and yet we're here.
no, not you. No, at the end of the second date I'm like, there's not enough physical chemistry, plus the guy would not let me get a word in edgewise. He was just talk.
Well, that's
talk,
rude.
talk. Yeah.
You get my joke right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I tell him, I'm like, he for one, he tries to go in to kiss me, and I'm just like, no, not interested in the kiss. And I just tell him, like, I'm sorry, I don't think there's enough chemistry here. This isn't really working for me. And he then proceeded to try and argue as to why we should continue to go out. He wanted to argue me into going on another date with him. And I'm just like, I was just dumbfounded. I'm like, no, I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. And I explained myself again, and he just was like, no, blah, blah, blah. But I really like you, and I think you're really hot, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, well, thank you, but...
I know, but,
I didn't say that. And then I finally, literally, I've never done this to anybody before. I literally threw my hands up in the air and said, whatever, it's not going to work. I don't want to see you again. I turned around, I got into my car, and I drove away. I just was like, I had been polite, I had been nice, and he just wasn't getting it, and he was trying to argue with me as to why he was a good catch. And I'm just like, I don't care that you, like, have a good job and you own a home and all that sort of stuff. That's great, but you're just a pain in the ass.
Sounds like the type of guy that would, but I'm a nice guy, without realizing...
No, what he is he's one of those not all men kind of guys. Yeah, that's what he was. Oh, anyway, all right. Okay, so
the next girls. I wrote that this was what I would call the worst song on the album. Every critique I've had so far was essentially magnified in this particular song.
Okay.
This is kind of like the petri dish of what I did not like in the song. But next song,
Divorce Song, track 12. I love this song too. It's the song of the bad road trip. Because, yeah. Oh my gosh. So much truth saying in this song. Oh, I love this song so much. Just the lyrics alone. It's like, just basically two people who at one time loved each other and now they can't really stand each other, but they're trying to get through this I don't even know why they're on a road trip together if they hate each other so much, but oh my gosh. This song, oh. If you listen to any track on this album, this song should be it. It's so awkward and painful and relatable. Oh, this song. I love this song.
I put that it was too lyric heavy, which, if you're not a fan of the vocals, is going to, bring it down some notches for you right out of the gate. I did dig the harmonica solo. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that.
The harmonica was very good. Mm-hmm. So go listen to this song.
Bitches. Do it now.
No, you're not bitches, listeners. I don't think you're bitches. Okay, track 13 is called Shatter. And it's all about regrets about men. Like a lot of this album is. It's regrets. I've had a few.
But then again, too few to mention. All right.
I did it my way.
Yeah.
That's
Don't
pretty
you
much.
love Sinatra?
Well, I like that song. It's a good song.
For Shatter, I put that the opening to me felt like it was longer than the whole song itself. The music just sounds so inspired, though again, this is where I did officially put in the notes that I'm listening to it with my 2020 ears and not 1993.
Not 93 years, yeah.
And what I mean by that is this, I mean, to what you talked about, I mean, recording methods are different today than what they were.
Oh, yeah, they are so different today.
Yeah, so, listening to a track from that era today, you can hear its datedness. So, kind of understanding what it sounded like in that particular time, it can be kind of hard. Yeah. I did say, why spend 2.5 minutes opening the song with what we got? The vocals, again, were monotonous. The bass was too prominent in the song for my taste, which it didn't have much to do. So why was it featured so prominently in the audio mix? Again, if you're going to have an instrument be featured that prominently, it has to be doing something more than boom, 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 just simple bass stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Track 14 is called Flower. It's dirty. It's all about her vagina. And how she's gonna use it to make you feel good.
All right. I like when that happens.
It's about vaginas, hence the name Flower.
My favorite topic.
Yes.
Some people are like, ew, God, no. I put, at least they tried something different. Vocals just...
It's kind of an odd song. I mean, because you've got these, like, lady high voices singing, every time I see your face, I get all wet between my legs. And then you've got Liz Phair in an undertone basically muttering all this stuff about, like, naughty
a demented
things.
Sesame Street episode.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a very dirty...
Get some puppets.
You throw some puppets, you've got like a sequel to Avenue Q right there.
There you go. All right, the next track.
The next track is called Johnny Sunshine. I like Johnny Sunshine. I'm starting to get worn out. This is a very long album. It's very long but very short at the same time. The whole album only kicks in at maybe 55 minutes, but we're talking 18 songs. It's a lot of friggin' tracks. Which is why I was willing to skip some of these. But yeah, Johnny Sunshine. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
I put, it was a sonic soundscape that I don't want to swim in. She's maybe trying to emulate the B-52s vocally, which...
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and... which, to be clear, is not a knock on the B-52s. I mean, I love that band. But because some people only associate the B-52s with Love Shack, and there is a lot more to that band.
There's a lot more to that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Rock Lobster, too.
Rock Lobster. My God, love that song. Oh, I gotta sing that in karaoke one day. That is my life.
Rock Lobster.
Yeah. We were at a party. An earlobe fell in the deep. Someone reached in and grabbed it. It was a rock lobster.
Woo!
Okay.
All right.
Next song.
We're losing our minds. Track 16 is Gun Shy, and She does some really interesting things with the guitar. These kind of watery sounds with the guitar. But overall, I'm not a very big fan of this track.
It was another too melancholy for me song. Vocals were just a drone. You have to be into that type of performance, and if you're not into it, doesn't matter how great the rest of the music is, it's gonna bring it down, unfortunately. So yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Just this, there's some tracks on here that are just kind of more experimental than others, and this is one of them. Yeah. So track 17, Stratford on Guy.
At least the intensity picked up.
Yeah, picked up the intensity. I enjoy this song. I'm just I'm just tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically proficient. This is, when I listened to this album, this is the first I heard of it, even though it came out in '93. Yeah. So I am unfortunately listening to it with 2020 ears, and it does sound cliched in a lot of ways. Yeah. Which, again, I fully admit is just based on, my perception, blah, blah, blah. But, picking up the intensity was great, but just... I guess this was one of her minor hits on the album. There was a video for it on MTV. Really? Probably on 120 minutes or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that video.
All right, the last track.
Last track's called Strange Loop. That's what my brain's going in right now. Strange Loop.
What'd you think about it?
I put yes next to it, which I basically, because like I said, I've listened to this album many times, but it's hard for me to pick out individual tracks in a way. So like with the ones I really liked, I put yes in all caps next to it, and then I put a little yes next to the ones I liked less. So this is a little yes.
Okay. This is a full-on no for me.
Oh no.
At this point, same critiques. It just, if she ever hears this show, it's not a personal knock. Miss or Mrs. Phair, I don't know if she's married or not, but
she was married at one point. I don't think she's married now.
Well, Liz Phair, if you are listening here, not a personal shot. I am not personally a fan, but I wish you the absolute best. You are making a living in the entertainment business. Not many people can say that. So it doesn't matter whether I like the music or not. You're doing something good.
Yep, pretty much.
All right,
and with that, we are at the end of the album.
Now, I was thinking as we were going through the description here, because of the fact that the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street influenced this album, I thought, why not kind of bookend this?
Okay.
And next week, review Exile on Main Street.
More Rolling Stones?
We only did Rolling Stones in the very first episode, and that's been a few months now.
Yeah, so I guess it's been a few months, so I can handle some more.
You sound so excited.
Well, it's just...
Well, think of it like this. The reason I want to do this is because of the fact that she modeled this album off of Exile on Main Street, so I think it would be a good way to kind of listen to both. Okay. And see where she went.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. It's just that the Rolling Stones are not my favorite band. And it's...
Liz Phair, Morrissey are not my favorite.
Yeah,
we went through it. So.
I think it's... Yeah, I think with the Rolling Stones... The Rolling Stones, it's the machismo that I just can't deal with very well.
You may enjoy this Exile on Main Street a little bit more, because... I'll go into it in more detail, because I know a lot about this album. Yeah. But this is more of their... this is in the late 70s, came after Sticky Fingers. This album is considered their very best album. I wouldn't necessarily agree, but in terms of their ability as musicians, that was the tightest that group ever was.
Okay, well, if it's to be considered one of their very best albums, then it's probably going to be at least okay, in my opinion. So
yeah, and there are plenty of their iconic songs are on this album, like Tumbling Dice.
I don't think I've ever heard that song. I probably have. Once I hear it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard this song.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee you have. But that will be on our show next week.
Well, I will give it my best shot.
The old college try.
Yeah,
and while we're waiting for a new episode of Friends Talking Nerdy, we'll be watching some marble races.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll watch some more marble races.
Yeah.
Those are so weird, but so Addicting.
Yeah, for folks that don't watch Last Week Tonight, John Oliver was talking about how sporting events are being affected by coronavirus, and one thing he brought up is that ESPN, in need of content, started showing this YouTube channel called Gels Marble Races, and they have they call it the Marble Olympics.
Silly, but it's so fun to watch.
They call it the Marble Olympics. They changed it now to the Marble League for the new season that the Last Week Tonight will officially sponsor. But it's treated like the Olympic Games. Like they have an archery event with the marbles. They have like long distance jumping. They have
basically he's launching literal marbles down these different raceway type things and timing them, and he's named all the teams. The teams, they're marbles. They don't have faces or anything, but he knows each individual name of each marble, and it's strangely fascinating to watch.
It's presented like an actual sporting show too, because it's been on for a few years now. So there will be like we saw like one race they had a couple that it was the barrel pushing race.
Yeah.
The where they broke the world record.
Yeah, broke the world record, and then he'll show the audience, which is marbles, and like at one point they were so excited about the win. They had the marbles storm the track. One marble
fan jumped off the track and then tried to do something, and then security let him off. They have an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony like in the Olympics. So
was that marble streaking, you think?
I don't know. No, I think it was implied that he was trying to go after one of the other teams.
Oh.
Because basically what the guy did is bought like for the orange marbles, the O-Rangers is what he called that team.
And the mellow yellow and the limeys or something like that.
Yeah, he bought he probably bought like a bag of all similar looking marbles, and then put those in a crowd. And apparently it's a Dutch guy that is autistic that started doing that. And just the sheer amount of detail. And there was an American guy that was watching that really enjoyed it, and he ultimately became the announcer for it. But
it's just so strange, but so addicting and fun to watch.
It is, because at the end of the day, me personally, I don't watch sporting events apart from pro wrestling. I'm just not a fan of guys making $100 million doing what they do and just being horrible human beings throughout.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sports either. I'll watch them if they're on.
I'm not a fan of professional sports, but I'm still a fan of competition. It's fun to see games played and stuff like that. And, this kind of satisfies it while still being entertaining, while being unique, and,
very family friendly.
Very family friendly as well. Just something that, like if you were at like a family gathering or something like that, you put that on the computer, the kids can watch it, the adults can watch it.
Oh yeah,
everybody's cheering. You can have.
I could totally see my family watching that.
Well, think about the betting opportunities too.
Oh yeah.
Like before the event starts, you can like have bets with family members. Like I think the O-Rangers are going to win this event, and Oh, Marbula 1 racing. I forgot that they have that too. There's like this big track. It starts up at top, and the marbles kind of like loop around and then go to the very bottom, and then there's like a little pulley that will pull the marbles up to the start of the track again. So he treats it like a Formula 1 race.
Oh gosh.
It's fascinating what they were able to do. So I'm glad people discovered something unique like that, and I hope that, unlike the Olympics, to where people think that they're going to be fans of swimming or curling for the rest of their lives, but only pay attention to it when the Olympics are around, hopefully people will continue to support this channel. Again, Gels Marble Racing, JELLE'' Marble Racing. Check them out on YouTube. Not going to hurt you. It's fun. It's great. It's something else to do in these times that don't involve watching reruns of old TV shows.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. Or here's another idea of things if you really need to watch sporting events or competitions, and you Google like Japanese game shows. They have some really, really weird game shows. They're like the one that did I tell you about Slippery Steps?
Yeah.
Yeah, Slippery Steps, when the guys are wearing like full safety gear and coated in lube and trying to climb up a pair. They're all competing to get up some stairs and all this. It's just nuts. And it cracks me up every goddamn time I watch it. So you can't really go wrong with something that cracks you up, even though you know what's going to happen. But it cracks you up.
Oh, that reminds me too about Pluto TV, the American Gladiators channel.
Oh, that's right.
All of the classic original American Gladiators.
80s American Gladiators. Oh my gosh, the graphics alone.
The graphics, the music, I mean, it was the perfect blending of sport and entertainment together. They create these silly games that nobody plays outside, in real life. But, in that setting, it makes perfect sense.
And then all the gladiators have those crazy names.
It's
like
Starfire.
Zap and Starfire and, oh, God, Apollo and...
Oh, the drugs that were done in the 80s.
Oh, I know. That was definitely the result of some crazy cocaine-fueled meeting.
Oh, that reminds me of another episode of Dark Side of the Ring. The Herb Abrams episode. He was a guy who started a wrestling organization called the Universal Wrestling Federation. He wanted to put Vince McMahon out of business, but he never even had the faintest hope of doing that. But the reason I bring that up is that the last thing he ever did before getting a heart attack and dying was chasing after the police, naked in cowboy boots, high on cocaine.
Driving that train, high on cocaine.
Yeah, he wasn't Casey Jones.
Casey Jones, you better watch your speed.
And another episode of Dark Side of the Ring. This past Tuesday, they finally debuted The Last Days of Owen Hart. That was... If you didn't hate Vince McMahon before this, you're going to hate him now. I mean, and that's... because Martha in her home has a collection of all the legal stuff she had to keep. A part of that collection of the legal stuff is the actual clip that was used on the day that Owen Hart fell to his death. And it was like a clip that never, ever, ever should have been used for something like that. Because rappelling, you want a locking carabiner. And what they did is they got a sailboat clip that was meant to release something really fast. And they also had some police photos from the crime scene. And one that was really, really chilling was the police photo in the rafters looking down over the ring. And just seeing that was the last thing he ever saw. And just, it's the most harrowing hour of, I mean, that show... I can't recommend that show enough. Whether you like wrestling or not, it's factual. They're telling the truth here, but they are telling some really powerful stories. And, just showing that, I mean, Vince McMahon has done a lot of horrible things over the years, just a lot of horrible things. And, he's responsible for multiple deaths.
Yep, he is.
Okay,
and on that note, have a great week.
All right. Yeah, we will see you.
I think we've rambled enough.
Yeah. It's late. Yeah, so we will see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in, folks.
Thank you.
And remember,
it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you. And you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.